last week I talked to you guys about the 5 characters who actually fell down the tier list in Smash Ultimate, which you can actually see at the top right screen right now. But today I want to talk to you guys about the 5 characters who climbed up the tier list, either from Smash 4 to Smash Ultimate, or from the early Smash Ultimate meta to the current Smash Ultimate meta. Now as well, keep in mind that this won't really be in way too much of a particular order, and this is going to be in my own opinion, so take everything as you want. With that all in mind, let's get going. I'm starting off here with Pichu, which I think some people might think is kind of a weird choice because pretty early on I think we figured out that he was kind of a busted character, but at least for the first month, for most of the tier lists I've found, people didn't really find that out yet. A lot of people thought he was okay. A lot of people thought he'd be kind of a worse version of Pikachu, and that, would make him still pretty good because Pikachu looked busted before the game came out. But I didn't really see way too much hype about him until quite a bit later. Now the thing about Pichu that I think everyone kind of made them sleep about for this character is that his basic archetype in the past really hadn't proven to be that great. In Melee, he was essentially Pikachu, but did more damage to himself, didn't really have that many more combos, was kind of less safe, and a lot more light. And that just created a problem where there wasn't much of a great reason to pick him up, and we kind of assumed that it would be the exact same thing in Ultimate. We kind of just randomly, blindly assumed that. Now, for the first month, I'm going to say people didn't really dabble in Pichu way too much. We thought he'd be good again, but didn't put too much time into him. However, after that, I think we just eventually found this breaking point where we found out that Pichu was just honestly insane. And ever since then, we've known that Pichu has just been a ridiculous character. And he went from, I think, around middle tier to definitely high tier to definitely top tier to definitely one of the top 3 best characters in the entire game. And yeah, it's kind of ridiculous that he just appeared out of nowhere and is so dang good in this game. Now, Pichu's so good for the reasons that we all know. His damage is insane, his combos are insane, his projectile is one of the best in the entire game, does so much damage, his mobility is top tier, his combo game off his throws is top tier, he has kill throws, up throw into down B, which is great, kill power off of everything, including some broken moves like forward tilt, down smash. It's so great. And while he does have, very small weight, or very little weight, it really doesn't hold him down as you think it would, because in a lot of situations, he actually just doesn't get comboed into kill confirms and doesn't die for a long time. Overall, he's a character that I think a lot of us thought would be pretty good, but didn't really expect way too much out of. But in the end, he's way better than any of us honestly could have ever imagined. My second pick, it's going to be Mii Swordfighter, and honestly, I guess you could say that the Miis are actually the #1 best character climbing up the tier list because in Smash 4, they weren't on the tier list. Everybody banned the Miis, which I never agreed with, but that's how it would be. And so technically, they went from non-existing to being on the tier list, so there you go, they're on the list. But real talk, other than that, I feel like Mii Swordfighter in particular actually is a really great character who got a lot better from the last game and who a lot of people started to finally see as a viable pick that you could go on and do pretty well with. He's a character that isn't just a spacing sword character like he was in the last game. While that's still a great thing he can do, it's not his 100% main focus all the time, because now instead of just spacing moves like maybe a Lucina would, he actually has some combos and some setups out of his moves in neutral. Mainly a lot of his tilts allow this, and a lot of his aerials actually allow you to go aerial into aerial and get some pretty short combos off, which is actually kind of cool. As well, I gotta mention right here, of course, that neutral B tornado got buffed so much. It did get nerfed early on in Smash Ultimate, which kind of sucks. But once we figured out everything it could do, mainly, just due to a ton of video guides talking about it, we figured out that it can kill stupid percents. Neutral B into up B, neutral B into up air, killing it like 80, 60% depending on where you are. And while it's a great move, he doesn't actually necessarily rely on it 100% either, which I honestly think is a really good thing. He's not like Doc, where you kind of have to get that down throw to down B to do really well with him. While it's great that he has these things, he can play without them. He can play without hitting way too many of the tornadoes and still do pretty fine, which is pretty great. I think the final thing I'm going to mention here is that his projectile game is actually just kind of good now. It was all right in the last game, but I felt with the fact that he can actually throw those out and people can't just power shield everything super easily. He can apply a lot more pressure on the defense. He can just get a lot more poke damage out. And that, along with his better sword skills, make him just overall a much better character that I think has a lot of potential. And while he is kind of laggy compared to some of the other sword fighters, I still think he's pretty darn good. The final thing I'll say here is that he does have a lot of good throw combos as well, which he had quite a few in the last game, but I feel like they're a little bit better now. And, while he's not necessarily broken, he just kind of works now, and I feel like this is kind of finally his time to shine, probably being a mid-tier or maybe potentially a bottom of a high tier. Okay, so I know what you may be thinking, because some people still think King DeDeDe is not that great, but from the recent Void tier list and from, Buzz's tier list and from a bajillion tier lists, I feel like most people are kind of realizing that DeDeDe is not one of the worst characters in the entire game at least. And in Ward's case, he actually said DeDeDe was potentially a high tier character. Now, not the top of high tier, but still a high tier character. And considering that he was just not that great in the last game at all, one of the top 10 worst characters, and that nobody had hype for him coming into Ultimate, and that nobody really saw way too much coming into him, except for, of course, DeDeDe mains, it's really impressive how that all happened for him. And it's really impressive how DeDeDe has kind of garnered up the support, and mainly garnered up a lot better of a character in himself, which is kind of nice. Now, if I'm going to be talking about the actual specifics about DeDeDe, I feel like the main thing you have to realize is that he was okay in the last game, but I feel like he just didn't really necessarily work way too much. A lot of his aerials didn't have enough damage and had too much lag on them, and that just kind of added up to a character that couldn't quite pull off what he needed to. As well, he had really bad matchups versus a lot of the top tiers, which got nerfed, which is kind of nice, but I think that's kind of what held him back. Now, in Ultimate, he still does have some problems. You still can combo him a ton, you still can edgeguard him, depending on your character, and it's still kind of hard to get out of disadvantage, and by kind of hard, I mean really hard, but he has some great things finally in this game. First off, he has super big hitboxes that are actually quick, hard-hitting, and hard to punish. The reduced lag helps him a ton, the fact that some of his moves do more damage helps him a ton, and just essentially having a giant sword in this game where swords are just god tier, that obviously helps him a lot more than it did in the last game. As well, as you mentioned here, his Gordo is just kind of dumb in some matchups. Now, they did nerf this, so actually, some people can actually hit the Gordo, which they simply put couldn't before the patch, which kind of sucks. But even with that in mind, there's so much tricks you can do with this. There's so many traps you can do with this. You can play very defensively, start to slowly push on pressure on your opponent, and then once you got them in a corner or in a bad situation, hit them again into the Gordo, get a combo out of it, get a ton of damage, potentially kill them. There's a lot of stuff you can do, and if your opponent doesn't have a good matchup against DeDeDe that can just hit it back super easily, like let's say, Wolf or something like that, this can cause a lot of problems for different characters. Now, the final thing I'm going to say right here is that DeDeDe has always been a great character for edge guarding and ledge trapping. Now, the problem about him in the previous game is that he didn't really have a chance to do this that much because most people could get back to stage for free. They could just air dodge through everything. You all know the problem. But in this game, you can still ledge trap just as hard as you could in the last game, maybe even harder with his better Gordo. But you can also edge guard now. You can go off, you can hit people off, you can kill them consistently, and I feel like that kind of gives DeDeDe a consistent strength. Other than just, having the potential to sometimes edgeguard people. In Ultimate, he can do it quite often, quite efficiently, and I think that makes him quite a bit better of a character. Overall, he's just a much better package now, and while it still does have a lot of those negatives that he had in the past, I feel like his positives and his unpredictability make him quite a bit better, and while he might fall a little bit in the future as people get to learn the matchup, I don't really think that'll happen too much as not that many people actually play DeDeDe. It's kind of hard to get experience, and I feel like he'll overall stay as a pretty good character for quite a long time. Okay, so moving on to Greninja, this was a character that I think that we all 100% messed up on. I think we all need to take the RB card right here because for like the first 2 months of Ultimate, from all the tiers I could look at and from everyone's opinions and from my own past experience, everyone was just like, yeah, this character is kind of good, probably mid-tier, and yep. And that's it. That's everybody's opinions. That's what everyone was saying. And if you go back and look back, just not that many people saw way too much coming out of this character. They saw, a character that was like the previous version, but he didn't have his footstool combo, so he probably wasn't that great, and, that's it. Fortunately for us, we have Japan, who showed us pretty quickly that, with players like Leia, Greninja can do great things in this game. And Greninja isn't, as good as he was in the last game, or worse than the last game. He is far better than he was in the last game. And he actually went from a character that's probably mid-tier in Smash 4, and even from, the early Ultimate meta, to definitely a high tier, probably a top tier in Ultimate, which, I guess depending on how much characters you count as top tier, but like top 10, top 15 in Ultimate, which is great. Now, the things that make Greninja so good in this game, the things that were changed that make him so much better, are mainly his dash attack, and of course, his down tilt. Both these things are amazing because they make so that his mid-range is just so good. If you're kind of far away from your opponent, but not too far, you can get in super easily with dash attack. You can combo it into a ton of different combos, or kill off of it with a forward air. As well, you can run up, cancel it, or I guess cancel your dash into down tilt, and safely poke at your opponent's shield. If you hit, you can get a combo off of that. You can potentially get a kill in the up smash or later percents out of that. And those two things alone, along with his overall general pretty good game plan that he had in Smash 4, just elevate him so much. If you look at a lot of players playing Greninja now, down tilt and dash attack are what they're using like the vast majority of the time because it's just such a good variety of moves now. It's so safe on shield, it's so good for cross-ups, it makes him insane in the mid-range, and yeah, he's just overall feels a lot better than before and has a lot better tools now. I feel like he always had pretty good tools in Smash 4, but didn't really necessarily have any broken tools, but now he kind of has those with those two things. He keeps his safety. Of course, he can still camp like he could in the previous game with his shurikens. He's one of the best edge guarders, which I also forgot to mention, but yeah, that's super important in a game where you can edge guard more. And overall, he just feels more solid now. And of course, the lesser landing lag helps him a lot as well, because I feel like he had just a bit too much landing lag in the last game. While he still has quite a bit in this game, everybody kind of got that helped out, so it's overall pretty good. Now, I do have to mention again, yes, he did lose those footstool combos. Those were really cool and had potential, and could have, I guess, if you mastered them 100% like a bot, made him one of the best characters in Smash 4, but that never really happened, and by receiving all of this help and losing those combos, yeah, I think that was definitely worth it, and as we've seen in the tier list, Greninja has went up again from like a mid-tier character, honestly, to probably a top-tier character, at least in my own personal opinion. Finally, we got Pac Man here, and I hate to say this because Pac Man's just a character that you never think would be any good. And I don't know, maybe that's just my own personal prejudice, maybe just because I have a friend that plays Pac Man that always wanted Pac Man to be good, and he was always kind of bad in the previous game and in this early meta, so I thought it was going to be bad. But it just feels so weird to have Pac Man be good. But he is, and that's so weird to me. In Smash 4, I feel like he was a character that always had potential, but never really got it brought out to the maximum potential, and he just kind of started to fall, just as time went on. And at Ultimate, we kind of thought he wasn't going to be that great from the start. But as time's gone on, as we've looked at his massive amounts of busts, as he probably has some of the most busts in the entire game actually, which is awesome, we figured out that he can do a lot in this game, and he can do it very effectively. We've seen a lot of players pulling this guy out, essentially, T and a ton of other people, and he's actually been getting good results, something that, again, didn't really see Pac Man doing. Now, I feel like the first thing I have to say about Pac Man is that he just personally feels a lot better. In the last game, he just didn't really feel much of a character. He felt like someone that could spam a lot of projectiles, but the rest of his kit didn't really work together way too much. And mainly the rest of his kit that I'm talking about is his aerials and his tilts. It's because they didn't really link into each other way too much, they had way too much lag, and they just couldn't be used that much neutral, but now they can. Now they do more damage. Now they do, in a lot of cases, come a little faster or have less lag. They combo better now, and he just kind of feels like he's a character that actually works as a character. Of course, he still isn't going in, he still isn't going ham, that still isn't the main focus of his game plan, but there are certain opportunities where you can do that, and there are certain opportunities where you actually can throw your aerials and they do something, instead of in the last game where a lot of times they weren't doing way too much. Now, that alone, I feel like makes him feel so much better. It makes him so much better. But as well, I have to mention that his fruit, while always being good in the last game, is now just even better in this game. Now, some of the fruit particularly did get nerfed a little bit, but by being able to charge his fruit a lot faster, being able to jump out of it a lot easier, and as well being able to pick up your old fruit and charge it and change it, that is awesome. That is amazing, and that gives him so much stuff he can do, so much weird tricks he can pull off. And of course, the fruit on Pac Man was always kind of ridiculous in the first place, but yeah, that just adds even more to this character. Finally, I'm going to say, this is so blessed, Pac Man's throw is finally not useless. And that is just something that I did not think would ever come to pass. It was one of those moves that just looked so bad. It just didn't work. It just had no benefit, really. You almost never throw. And now you actually can possibly throw. Now, is it a good throw? Probably no. Probably one of the worst throws in the entire game still. But it's there. And it can be spot dodged sometimes. And it has some use, and it makes you can't just shield versus Pac Man all the time. Overall, all these things together, I think make Pac Man such a better character, making him go from probably low tier in the last game to mid tier, probably high tier in this game, honestly, I guess depending on how you look at it. And I think that's one of the biggest climbs. Of course, all of these are in no particular order, but I feel like Pac Man himself really did climb quite a bit and really feels like a lot better of a character. So that's why I want to put him here, and there we go. But anyways, that's just all my own personal opinions for the 5 characters that climbed up the tier list in Smash Ultimate, in my own personal opinion. And if you have your own opinion, please make sure to leave that down in the comment section down below and tell me if you thought I got some of these right, or if you thought I missed a few characters. Because, there's a lot of characters that got a lot better in this game, so I'd like to hear your own personal opinions. Probably a character like Palutena would have really fit on this list as well, so I want to mention that. As always, top on screen right now is a card for a playlist of more Smash Ultimate videos like this, and specifically the video on the top 5 characters who fell down the tier list, which I think you might find interesting because you're watching this video, which, yeah, pretty much applies to that video as well. As always, guys, subscribe to see more videos like this in the future, like to see them as well, and as always, guys, you can watch and have a smashing day.